Welcome to another week, another show of Hawkeyed with me, Dave O'Hara. Thanks for tuning in. Got another great show lined up for you this week, as we always do, and I know you'll think so after watching it. Thanks again for making us number one in late night on KFXA, Fox 28. They appreciate it. We appreciate it, so thank you so much for that. On today's show, Joel Tice is going to join us here in just a moment. In lieu of our every other week, we're going to go with the Mershman Minute with Joe Mershman, and then this week we're going to alternate to Joel Tice. Tice Time is what that's called. So owner and operator of Tice Automotive family, and we're going to have Joel on in just a minute. David Eicholt will join us, the Hawkeye Insider as usual. And then this week we're going double basketball. No football this week. We're going with James Moses, former Hawkeye great. And then Kent McCausland will join us again to wrap up the show. That being said, I've located Joel Tice. Tice Time. Joel, welcome aboard. How you doing? And thanks for joining us. How's everything happening with Tice Automotive family?
Doing good, Dave. Thanks for having me here.
It's my pleasure. So we use Tice Time for the alliteration, and you and I were joking off the air. There's some stories with people T-H-Y-S. The H is silent. Talk about that for just a second, please.
The name doesn't speak for itself, we'll say, and we've been called lots of different things, but the H is silent, and it does rhyme with time real nice. So that's why Tice Time will work for us here. So
that is beautiful. And if you would, talk to us about your involvement with the show. As the weeks go on and your appearances continue, we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about your daughters and son being involved in sports and what your involvement here is. But let's talk about branding and how the car business has changed over time, if you would, please, for us, Joel.
Well, especially with the internet, and any time that you see our name that's going to be on TV, we're not going to be trying to sell you a particular unit or tell you about some special sale. It's just going to be talking about our name and what we do, and wanting you to become part of the Tice Automotive family. And because we've had people over the years tell us that they feel like being treated, that they've been treated like family, and that's why we want to always talk about what the big picture is for us, in that we want people to feel like they are family when they're in doing business with us.
Absolutely, and that's why we like the Tice Automotive family name, and located in and around Cedar Rapids and Blairstown and Belle Plaine. So we're looking forward to talking to you in the following weeks. Joel, thanks so much, and we look forward to catching up with you in 2 weeks.
Thanks a lot, Dave. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. That's Tice Time with Joel Tice. And as you can see, I've located David Eicholt on the screen. David at Hawkeye Insider. You can also see we've got the T-shirt as well as on the screen there where all David's information is, 24/7 Sports. David, first and foremost, as always, thanks for joining me. Secondly, let's get right to it again as always. Big Ten tournament, what more can I say? But before you get there for the Iowa Hawkeye men, we are going to talk in future shows, David and I, in detail about Caitlin Clark, Bluter's bunch, Lisa Bluter, head coach for the Iowa women's team, doing a great job this season. Caitlin Clark is the for the Big Ten Female Freshman of the Year. Should be in the discussion for Player of the Year in women's college basketball, but we'll get to that another time. Also, congratulations to the 4 Hawkeyes who won Big Ten wrestling titles in Marinelli, Lee, Ehrman, and Kemmerer, and going into nationals next weekend in St. Louis. So can't wait to talk in future shows about Iowa Hawkeye wrestling and the Iowa Hawkeye women's basketball program. But David, let's get to it. Iowa Hawkeye men, we got the Big Ten tournament rolling. By the time the viewers see and hear this, the Big Ten tournament will have already had the opening round games. The Hawks will have already played. It looks like Wisconsin, provided Wisconsin can get past either Penn State or Nebraska. But we may have another Michigan State-Michigan matchup. David, to get through this Big Ten tournament is going to be a juggernaut. Not only will the Hawks have to beat Wisconsin, it looks like, for 3 times in about a 2-week period, but Michigan State, Michigan, the Hawks would have to get past Illinois. They'd have to get past the winner of Purdue and Michigan. Hawks right now 5th in the country going into the tournament with the double bye. Also, March Madness Selection Sunday, this upcoming Sunday. Illinois at number 3 in the country, Michigan at number 4, Ohio State at number 9, Purdue at 21. What more do I have to say, David?
Must-watch television, Dave. I think after not having any postseason games last year, I think this is a tremendous slate of opportunities and games. And I'll say this. I know people think Iowa's locked into a 2 seed. I still think Iowa can make a case for that final one, because the way that with Michigan State being Michigan, they have another quad 1 win. If Iowa beats Wisconsin, that's another quad 1. They beat Illinois, that's another quad 1. And that's probably, they're a 1 seed right now. If they play Michigan in the finals, that's 3 quad 1 wins in 3 days. And I believe that would give Iowa tied for the most quad 1 wins in the country. And I know they have 7 losses, but I think there's a lot to play for Iowa in this tournament. And I think that sets up really well for them to at least get to the semifinals, if not the finals.
Let's talk about Big Ten postseason awards. And you had press availability with the Hawkeyes today and Fran McCaffrey. We record this on Tuesday afternoon as it airs on Friday and later. Give us your takeaway on the awards, but also any takeaways from the press availability today, please.
Well, everybody talked about potential Garza fatigue, but I mean, he earned the Big Ten Player of the Year for the second year straight. It's not a surprise to me. I know some people voted for Ayo Dosunmu. Very tremendous season for him, but it was obviously, at least to me, that Luka Garza was without doubt the Player of the Year in the Big Ten. Joe Wieskamp, second team honor. CJ Frederick, Jordan Bohannon, both were honorable mentions, and I think that both those guys deserve those. I think Frederick showed how important he is to this team, and Keegan Murray, Big Ten All-Freshman. I mean, I think that he's been so impressive, both sides of the ball, throughout the course of the season. Big reason why Iowa beat Wisconsin on Sunday. And as far as, I think Iowa's just completely locked in the Big Ten tournament. Fran McCaffrey said, yeah, these guys have never packed for 28 days before. And I'll tell you what, 28 days from now, guess what? That's the day after the national title. So they're going in right now, all in on seeing what they can do in March. And very legacy-defining moment for this year's Hawkeyes.
Definitely look forward to it. Well stated as always, David. And we'll catch up with you. We'll find out how Joe Wieskamp's ankle holds out. And Luka Garza getting his number retired. We'll talk about that next week as well. So, David, thank you so much. Look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Back with more James Moses and then Kent McCausland. Back with more Hawkeyed with me, Dave O'Hara, in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Chevrolet. We've lived through some very interesting times the last few months. Ensuring everyone's safety is more important than ever. That is why we're participating in the Chevy Clean program. At your request, we will pick up your vehicle, service it, and return it after we've cleaned it using the current CDC guidelines. This is just another way to work towards exceeding your expectations. So give us a call and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Welcome back to Hawkeyed with me, Dave O'Hara, and as you can see, I've located James Moses on the screen. James, a former Iowa Hawkeye basketball playing great, was there from 1988 to 1992. James is a 1,000-point scorer, a member of that very exclusive club at the University of Iowa. James, you see all his information on the bottom of the screen there. And James, first and foremost, as always, great talking to you off the air. On the air, our mutual friend Doug Wagner has you and me on together, joining him for the Hawkeye postgame show on WMT and KXIC Radio. So that's how you and I met initially. But over time, you've been on my list. Jess Settles has talked about you on this show. So first and foremost, thanks for joining me. Finally get you on the TV show. But secondly, that big grin on your face, looks like everything's going well. Your son is in the state tournament with Dowling Catholic. You look very happy, my friend. Everything going well?
Oh, yes. My wife, Peg, and I, we're very excited for Jalen's opportunity. It's historic for my family because his sister, Jade Rogers, went to state for Kennedy. His sister, Alexis Rogers, went to state volleyball, but they played in Cedar Rapids there for volleyball. And then now Jalen has his opportunity. So it just completes our trio.
Well, the great thing about that is with the family being involved in that, you've moved recently from Cedar Rapids to Des Moines. Let the listeners know and the viewers know what you've been up to the past years since you've been gone in Iowa. I know you've been an agent for the Department of Corrections in the state of Iowa for the last quarter century plus. You're a youth basketball coach. You've coached high school basketball. You've been busy since your playing days. So give us a little update if you would, please.
Hey, no problem. My wife and I, we run a business called Are You Ballin'? That's where we developed young kids to be as best as they can perform. Also, I've been working for the Department of Corrections, the 6th District, where cover Benton County, Iowa County, Tama County, Jones County, Iowa County, Lynn County, and then Johnson County. So just covering those places. I've been doing that. It'll be 26 years come June 16th of this year. The Department of Corrections have been great for my growth and just been married. My wife and I are going to be celebrating 20 plus years come May the 26th of this year. So just a lot of good foundation that was here at the in the state of Iowa, and having the opportunity to work with a lot of kids around the state. And on the side, I work with for Lefty Moore, who used to be a player for Iowa State, Johnny Orr, that was. And he is the director of All Iowa Attack. And it's nice to be able to work alongside of him and developing kids in the state.
Absolutely. And so, congratulations early to you and your wife, but I got to ask you this, James. A guy from the LA area comes to Iowa, and Tom Davis, and man, there was a time when you were in the top 15 of scorers all time on the Iowa Hawkeye list, and in that 1,000-point club, as I mentioned, but you're falling farther and farther down the list with the likes of Luka Garza, Jordan Bohannon, Joe Wieskamp. And, I talked with Adam Haluska, Greg Bruner, and Kent McCausland, and Jeff Horner about that. Jess Settles, too. He's like, Dave, I'm not where I used to be with this current Hawkeye group. They're knocking you guys farther down the list. But what brought you from California, the LA area, to come to Iowa and play for Tom Davis? What was the main attraction for you?
Well, one of the main attractions and what I loved about Coach Davis, he was the one that noticed my talents. I was in the 7th grade when he was at Stanford in Palo Alto, California at the university. And that's where I received my first offer from Tom Davis. So from there, I received a lot of other offers. It became kind of mind-blowing, trying to keep up with all the schools that showed interest and gave me offers. But I came down to my top 5, Iowa being one, Lute Olson at Arizona, Pat Kennedy that was at Florida State, Dale Brown that was at LSU, and the late, may he rest in paradise, Jerry Tarkanian from UNLV. And all those schools showed a great interest in me. And it came down to Iowa from Coach Davis and that 7th grade offer.
Man, what a veritable who's who in college basketball and universities and teams that were after you. So Iowa wins out. And, I hate to do this to you. So you're obviously going to be coming back for weeks to come here during the summer and into basketball season again next year. But if you could, give me a minute or two on your experience with, we talked about the passing, the anniversary, the unfortunate anniversary of Chris Street's passing, been 28 years now this last January. But there's a special connection to that date with you and your family, unfortunately. And then also your experience with Jess Settles. And then we'll talk about this season's Iowa team going into the Big Ten tournament and the national tournament, March Madness, soon upcoming. But let's start with Chris Street first. If you could give us a couple minutes on your experience with Chris and talk about his passing date, as you and I have talked about this off the air, please, James.
Oh, no problem. Part of the sadness, but it was a celebration, two folds. My mom's birthday. So when Chris had passed away, it was just very heartfelt. It was just very sad. To be less than a year removed from the university, because I had completed my senior year in '92, and to hear about what had happened when he left, training table from the Highlander, and just kind of, it made me relive what, kind of took place when the snowplow came, and he thought that he had a lot more room to clear, and the snowplow was closer than what he thought, and he had that rear wheel traction in his vehicle, and it slid in the snow, and it just was unfortunate. But Chris was a great friend. We used to do lots of things together, especially as a team. One of the things we loved to do was go shoot pool. He was just very happy-go-lucky, but he was a true representation of what Iowa is. Because, he's hardworking, he was genuine, he had that, just a sense of humor, but he also was a playmaker. And one of the players that I said that he emulated, who he was a lot that favored, is kind of like a Kevin Love, where he did the hard work. He was a great passer. He was a great rebounder, but he was also a great shooter, and he was developing some of his ball handling skills. And I just felt that he had all the intangibles to be a potential top 10, top 15 draft pick if he was to, not come up short with his life. So,
and I think you have a great relationship still with Mike and Patty as parents, and that's always great to know. And I've got to do this to you because we're running short on time. So that big grin on your face, the next time you're back, we're going to pick up where we left off. When I mentioned your name to Jess Settles, he just started laughing when Jess was on this show, the Big Ten analyst for the Big Ten Network and Iowa farmer currently. And he just, like you, started laughing. He goes, James Moses, the best of the best, a true great human being. He said, you just asked James what it was like for him when he walked into my place and played some basketball on the farm in Winfield, Mount Union, Iowa. So if you can give me 30 seconds to that smile, then we got to talk about this year's Hawkeye team.
Yeah, Jess, it just reminded me of just my granddad and his farm and stuff. And just to see the work, you knew his work ethic because of what was there on the farm. Yep. He's just a hard worker, very humble, very selfless. Just, you wouldn't even know some of the characteristics that he portrayed unless you saw him around the farm. And that's just another snapshot of how beautiful and how awesome a person he is.
Well, and the cool thing was, he said, Dave, it was awesome to see the LA City kid come on the farm. And I said, you teach him a little barn ball? And he said, oh, yeah. So we're going to stop it there and come back that next time. But let's get to this year's Hawkeye team. By the time the viewers see this show on Friday night, the Hawks will hopefully, it looks like they'll probably play Wisconsin. I know that Wisconsin will play the winner of Penn State and Nebraska. And then, of course, the winner of the Wisconsin game will then play Iowa Friday night. And so, again, the listeners and viewers will be watching and hearing this show after the fact. But then you take a look if the things play out, as they call it, chalk, if it goes in order for the brackets in the Big Ten tournament. The Hawks would play Friday against Wisconsin, theoretically, and then it would be Illinois, and then they would play the winner of Michigan-Purdue. Again, if things play out. I mean, Michigan might have to play Michigan State again for the third time in almost a week. So as you're kind of rolling your eyes too, that is going to be a juggernaut for anybody to come out of that Big Ten tournament. Talk about that, if you would, for us, please, James.
Well, the Big Ten, I mean, you realistically have about 10 teams that could come out that's probably likely going to go to the NCAA tournament, but we may even squeeze out an 11th team, But in preparation for Wisconsin, that they're going to be charged up and animated because Coach Greg Gard didn't think he got the whistle that he wanted to have, although I respectfully disagree because there were some things that Mr. Davison displays and has displayed throughout his career that was very telling on the if you looked at the replay and the review where he grabbed Keegan Murray's arm. But, if Iowa just plays to expectations, we get Wieskamp, Wheezy, baby.
That's
we
right.
Get back, from his, little injury that he had. And we just start hitting on all cylinders. CJ Fredrickson, Jason Bohannon, who, hey, despite Luka's celebration, Jason Bohannon, he passed Dean Oliver, who's one of the assistants at Wisconsin, So there's lots of things that we can relate to. But, in all seriousness, when it's time for them to know exactly who they're going to play, which might be Wisconsin, I think Iowa's going to be ready.
You got Wisconsin on the brain. You mean Jordan Bohannon, not Jason, his brother. So it's J-Bo, and he passed our buddy Jeff Horner on this show too. So besides Dean Oliver and Andre Woolridge, and he is now the all-time assist leader with Luka passing Roy Marble as the all-time scoring leader. What a team, what a juggernaut. And again, like you mentioned, the health of C.J. Frederick, Joe Wieskamp, and you sound like Gus Johnson now, the broadcaster. We got to call him Wheezy, and we got to call Connor McCaffrey C-Mac, and all these great nicknames. But James, great stuff from you. I can't wait to catch up with you. We also want to talk in detail next time with you about your association. You mentioned Keegan Murray, and you mentioned Kenyon Murray. His dad is a former, you were on the same time at Iowa together, still a friend of yours. So we want to catch up with you on that next time we talk to you in the next couple of weeks. If that works in your schedule, we'd love to have you back, James.
Oh, I'd love to be back. And, hey, I apologize to Jordan. Hey, I was thinking about Jason because I had the good fortune when I coached at Washington High School with Rick Williams. Jason played Gordon, and Gordy and his wife Brenda did an awesome job with, Matt, Isaac, and Jason, and then now Jordan. So I'm sorry, but congratulations to Jordan Bohannon.
Too many of them. You're excused. There's way too many of them, but we would love to have more in the Iowa program, that's for sure. Too many at Wisconsin, I'll say that. But James, best of luck to you, your son, with the state tourney upcoming, and hopefully with the Iowa basketball state tournament. Boys, your son can come home with a championship. Dowling Catholic, best of luck, and we will catch up with you on that too upcoming. James Moses, 1,000-point scorer in the Iowa Hawkeye men's basketball history, former great Hawkeye from 1988 to 1992. James, I look forward to catching up with you in the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon, my friend.
Hey, thank you, David. I appreciate being part of your broadcast.
My pleasure as always. And so for James Moses, this is Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. We'll be back to close out the show with another great former Hawkeye shooting great in Kent McCausland. Back with more in a few moments.
When you're a farmer, there's a lot of things you can't control. But there is a way to give your soybeans an early advantage. Mershman Seeds soybean seed treatment featuring Turpidity ST. An independent analysis has proven faster and more even emergence every time. Just look at the Mershman difference. Give your crop the boost it needs for a uniform stand. For the best yields, grow with us. Mershman Seeds.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. And as you can see on the screen and you can hear, and you'll soon hear, I've got Kent McCausland joining me. Kent, former Hawkeye sharpshooting great. Geez, we went from one generation to the other with James Moses, sharpshooting great, to now Kent McCausland. As you know, Kent joined us last week. So if you missed any part of that episode or any episodes, always go to @Dave O'Hara Sports via social media, where it's linked there, or DaveO'HaraSports.com. So Kent, we'll go away from the personal anecdotes and stories today and get right to it, man, this Big Ten tournament. Thank you so much for joining us. You see Kent's information on the bottom of the screen. He also does a television show with our mutual buddy, Rob Brooks, and also Kent's dad, Mac McCausland, former Hawkeye basketball player and broadcaster. So Kent, thanks again for joining us. And secondly, let's get right to it, my friend. By the time the viewers see this show or hear it, the Hawkeyes will have already played their Big Ten opener. Looks like it's going to be against Wisconsin, unless Penn State or Nebraska can upset Wisconsin. What are your thoughts about playing Wisconsin again for multiple times in a 2-week period of time?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, if you would have bet money at the beginning of the year, we'd be here at the Big Ten tournament in Indianapolis. I don't know that we would have thought that it was a lock that we'd be here. So kudos to all the players and the staff and the coaches. I mean, this has been a long road of testing, making sure that you're doing the right things and the protocols. So, and to play Wisconsin again, I mean, is there a better rivalry going on right now, maybe for Hawk fans and Wisconsin fans after what happened in Carver Hawkeye? I really point to, first of all, they're just very physical, and it's going to be a tight game. They were playing extremely well in the second half, shooting the ball well, which they didn't shoot the ball worth a darn in the first half at Carver Hawkeye. And really, I think if Wieskamp stays healthy, you probably run away with that game at some point, or at least put some distance away. But as you look at the potential of playing them again, it'll be physical, it'll be tough, and I don't think Wisconsin will be too excited. Well, they will be excited to be playing Iowa again, I think. Depends on who the officials will be and how many times they look at the replay video, right?
I tell you, Kent, something's got to be done, and I'm glad you went there, and we could spend a whole show doing that, so we won't waste any more time than that and say it's got to get better. Yes, we want the calls right, but it took almost 30 minutes to play that last minute of the game, and unbelievable. But to a couple of points you brought up, and I think it's very intriguing to look at this, the Hawks did get that double bye. We could have a Michigan State-Michigan matchup. If Michigan State beats Maryland in the play-in game, then they would play Michigan on Friday. So that would be something else to have Michigan State. That would be 3 times in about an 8-day period. The Hawks had at least a week or two break between Sunday's game, and now it might be a 5-day break, but that'll be something else. So if the Hawks get past Wisconsin, they would play Illinois. If things play out, chalk as they call it, as the way it's listed, if it plays out as we think it will in theory, but that's why they play the games, it's not done on paper. But the Hawks could face Wisconsin and then Illinois, and then they would face the winner, theoretically, of Michigan and Purdue. Regardless, it's going to take a Herculean effort by any team to win this Big Ten tournament. It is stacked, Kent.
It is stacked, and the Big Ten's never been as good as it has been in recent times as it is today, I think. The Big Ten's always very competitive, but the high level, I think, of these teams, the number of teams that have been in the top 10 throughout the year, and all of a sudden Michigan State's coming on. I think Purdue could play spoilers. They're a very tough team and have a style of play that is difficult to contend with. But But then you put in the Michigans, the Illinois. I mean, Wisconsin could easily play well and get by Iowa, and all of a sudden now Wisconsin could play spoiler. So a lot of good basketball in our future here for the weekend, and I think we all look forward to it because it gives you a chance to kind of see who's peaking at the right time. Illinois looks like they're peaking at the right time. Really had some nice wins. Iowa was peaking. I thought they were playing very well. Their defense had improved. I think the only monkey wrench into that whole deal is where's Wieskamp's ankle and how's he going to be feeling? I think that's a big key to whether or not the Hawkeyes can move forward in the tournament. And, I'm not in the locker room. I have no idea, but I have had a sprained ankle before. If he's in pain, I would say just rest him and you move forward and get ready for the NCAA.
That's a great point that you bring up because the Hawkeyes right now, you got Michigan at number 3 in the country in the AP recent poll. You have Illinois at 3, Michigan at 4, Iowa at 5. That's behind, obviously, Gonzaga, who's undefeated, Baylor. And then, of course, you've got Illinois, Michigan, and Iowa. Then you have Ohio State at number 9, Purdue at 21, as you mentioned. A lot of other teams hanging around the periphery. You're exactly right. Regardless, and that leads me to my next question with you is, it appears this way, right? That Iowa will be a 2nd seed, but if they win the Big Ten tournament, they could be a number 1 seed. So there might be a little more to play for than we think, or do you think they're a number 2 seed regardless?
I think I would say maybe a number 2 regardless. And the only reason I say that is because of how stacked these teams are at the top. If you can make that jump, I think you have to win convincingly and look really good doing it against Illinois and Michigan and beat those type of teams at the top. You can't have Purdue sneak by or someone sneak by and you beat them in the final. I don't think that's going to work. So I think the cards kind of have to line up correctly and you get some big wins. And maybe you could move to that 1 line. But a solid 2, nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah, amen. They got as you said, we got the double bye. They're going to be a 2 seed at worst. Win or lose in this Big Ten tournament, I think you're right. We'll ask you this real quick in about 30 seconds. Luka Garza, Jordan Bohannon, everybody playing at a peak level. You mentioned the Wieskamp injury with Jack Nunge being out now. Those young guys the Hawks are really going to have to lean on Keegan Murray. And as you're nodding here with Patrick McCaffrey, God forbid if one of those guys needs a break or there's foul trouble, they are really going to need those young guys in about 15-20 seconds. Kent, your thoughts?
Yeah, really interesting to see how that game towards the end of Wisconsin kind of ended up. Jordan Bohannon steps forward as the guy taking all the big shots. I thought that was interesting. And then also Keegan, Patrick, Joe Toussaint playing well as of late as well. So he's a young guy that can help contribute at a high level and bring something else to the court that you don't have in that speed and quickness.
I'm glad you brought up Joe T. You're exactly right. So, Kent, great stuff from you as always. Look forward to catching up with you very soon. We got a March Madness tournament to talk about as well, so not just the Big Ten tourney. So it is our time of year, Kent. Let's get after it and have you back as soon as your schedule allows. Thank you so much for back-to-back weeks and look forward to talking to you very, very soon again, Kent. Thank you.
Best time of year. Thank you.
It is indeed. You're welcome, and thank you for Kent McCausland, James Moses, David Eicholt, and Joel Tice. And thanks to you, the viewers, for tuning in and making us number 1 in late night on KFXA, Fox 28. Also, please stay tuned for just a second after the show as the credits roll to give the time and attention, and hopefully you can support our advertisers and sponsors the way they support this show. Without them, we don't have a program, so thanks to them as well. So for the aforementioned guests, I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeye. That's all from me. Thanks to all of you.